This video is going to show you how to work with multiple video projects in VNote. Give it a title. And rather than dragging and dropping, you're going to want to go to Edit Playback Sources. And what you can do is you can choose between Parallel Mode, which plays all of the videos on the screen at the same time. You can also automatically sync based on the soundtrack if they were recorded of the same event. And you can synchronize manually if if you have an announcer track or a narrator track or something like that that can't be expected to be automatically related based on a soundtrack. Serial mode is when you want to play the videos one after another. If you want to add like one of your games every week until you get to the end of the season, this would work. You can keep the players the same and make it all one video, one project. Add video later mode, which is what that would do is if you click OK, that would allow you to just hit play and stop. And kind of like before, you can add additional labels and stuff like that, and you can just hit A, B to make your codes. This is single press mode. And then at the end of it, when you're done, you can just drag your video in and it'll associate those timelines. If you need to, you can actually offset the timeline, shifting it left or right. You see now I'm shifting it to the right. You can also shift it left. If you like your recording didn't start at exactly the same time as your video labeling with VNote, for example, you can do that. So in order to change it and add your video, you can just drag it in, or you can go to Edit Playback Sources, switch to Parallel or Serial, and then add your video. And add your video like this. Let's do parallel mode now, and let's add a couple videos. Let's add them with this. So we went to File, we went to Edit Video Sources. Let's add, let's go to in here. We have a couple videos we can use. Let's 3 teaching videos. So there's one I've added, and that's going to be my main video because that's first. That's the one against the others would synchronize, and that would be 0 time when that video starts. So if your other videos started or synced a little later, like a minute in, then they would not start until the minute in. And we'll just add 3 videos there, and there they are, they're added. If I click OK like this, they're all going to start exactly the same time. I can drag this around and make it a little bigger and that kind of stuff. I can alter their soundtracks here. We have 3 soundtracks. I have them all play, or none, turning them off and on, adjusting the volume differently, whatever. If they should be expected to sync, in other words, they're the same group from different angles. That gives you a thumbnail if you wanted to mouse over. It'll give you the thumbnail of what things are. Let's go to synchronize them, and we have a couple options. If you could be expecting them to synchronize automatically, in other words, they were recorded at the same event just from a different angle and their audio significantly overlaps, just click Sync Videos and go to Auto Sync and click Auto Sync All. It will take a few minutes, and it should synchronize and find the right points and shift things, and also account for drift. Drift is when things record at slightly different rates. That would work. If you would not expect them to synchronize automatically, you can manual sync, and there you have to set a base video. It can be any of the 3. And if you set the base video, the others will synchronize against that. And then just click OK. Let's look what a manual sync looks like. Whoops, I didn't do it right. So let's look at what a manual sync would look like. So we'll go to synchronize. It actually takes a few minutes to decode. Very much like the listen to that. This is very much like the process that has to happen in the auto sync. So what we're doing now is we're just converting the sound waves, the sound files, into like a waveform for comparison, converting it into numerical data. It's going to take a few minutes. And we should look at our waveforms, and it tells you the title of each one. And you can still auto sync it if you're looking at it, or what you can do is you'll want to right click. When you right click, you'll add a marker. The first marker is for you placed. It's A. You have to have at least one marker. And you kind of want to find an event, and you can do that by looking at, and you can zoom into these as well if you'd like. They'll stay staggered if you have it aligned one to one. They'll kind of stay in relation to each other, zoomed in the same place. So if you found the same sound, what you can do is just hit play from here, or right click, and it'll play that particular video only. You find the same sign, what you can do is fine tune the marker. So what that means is you're looking now for correlation. We have 9% correlation. We want to get that number as high as possible, and you really want to listen with your ear to determine that too more. So what you're going to do is shift the points, the markers. Once you think you've got, let's say somebody says the word welcome, or they clap, or you hear someone cough, you find that on both videos. You put your marker right about there, and this lets you fine tune it. You can also hit auto refine. If you weren't able to automatically synchronize it, this could still be able to work for you. So once you get it you get it done, you hit apply, and that'll shift your, and you can hit save, and it will shift these to start at exactly the same time when you go and play it. So what we can do now is we can zoom in, and we can actually right click and add another marker. Now why would you have to add another marker? If it's in sync at the beginning, shouldn't it be in sync at the end? Yes, often. However, probably half the time, depending on the equipment you use, it'll become out of sync toward the end. Things record at slightly different rates, and so your really best bet is to listen a little bit in the middle and see if it starts to shift away from each other, the two sounds, the two soundtracks, and if so, you might want to add a B marker, go a little further on, and add a C marker, and then align them again and click apply. Use the fine-tune method, and then just save it, and you shouldn't have to sync again, and it should automatically sync. We did have a third video in there, so if we save that, now we're going to go and we're going to sync the second video to it, the third video I should say, to the first track, so they should all be in sync. And again, you can toggle off and on your soundtracks as you need to be. So that's how you work with parallel mode. If we do serial mode, it's going to completely change things. Serial mode is just going to play this video, and then this video, and then this video, and you won't notice any difference from a normal project with one video. And you can see, however, that there's a little red mark here that just denotes the point at which the one video ends and the other begins. So that's kind of all that is. Zoom in a little. We're way zoomed out. Here's our, I don't want to be zoomed in quite that much, but somewhere you should see the marker here as well. I don't know, maybe we'll see. Let's see here. Well, anyway, it's in there. It's the red marker. Maybe I guess they're not there actually. They're just up here. But in any case, that lets you see where the divisions are for each video, and where the video will change. It goes from classroom to classroom between those lines, or at those lines rather. And that's how you can work with multiple videos in VNote. I'm just going to go back to edit playback sources again, and if you want to clear all of them, if you want to change the orientation, one other thing, if you're in parallel mode, you want to change the orientation of your videos. In other words, you want them in not, in a grid like by 4 by 4, but you want to actually have them in like just one row, say, and like 3 columns. They'll be all across the top now. So rather than like they were before in a grid pattern, you can have them like that if you want to. Or you could put them all in one column if you wanted to. Depending on how many you have, it will change. Why would you want to be able to set the aspect ratio? The aspect ratio is in there. And what that lets you do right now, you can shift and change things, and it'll change the aspect ratio slightly depending on how you drag and your video frame around. If you want to start drawing on it, you actually have to select one of these. So I'll select that one. It changes things a little bit, and it forces it to a 3:2 ratio. What that does is that keeps your drawings lined up with your videos. So if you're not going to draw, you don't have to worry about that. If you are, you're going to want to come up with an aspect ratio that works for you. You can select a custom aspect ratio and get exactly what you want. But once you do that and you start drawing, You can't change it, yeah, or your video and your drawing will no longer properly align. In other words, if you drew an arrow, the arrow may shift with respect to the video if you change that. So get it where you like it, and then just leave it, and you're good. So that's how you work with it. Address any questions you may have to support at vnote.org. Sorry, v-note.org. That's V like Victor, note.org. And you can visit us on our website, vnote.org as well, v-note.org as well. Thanks a lot, and let us know if